Hi everyone, I'm Andrea and welcome back to Buenas Noticias in Easy English, the YouTube channel with interesting and/or EO and/or positive news stories from around the world in easy English for Spanish speakers. Before we begin, remember, if I'm speaking too fast or too slow, you can change the video speed in the settings. Si estoy hablando demasiado rápido o demasiado lento, cambia la velocidad del video en la configuración. Also, try listening to the story the first time without Spanish subtitles. Then, if you need help, you can listen again with the Spanish translation. Intenta escuchar la historia por primera vez sin subtítulos en español. Luego, si lo necesitas, puedes volver a leerlo en español. Okay, so let's get started. Today's story begins with a question. What is the biggest desert in the world? Desert, not dessert, desert. Many people think it's the Sahara Desert. And that's understandable because the Sahara is huge. It's in North Africa and it stretches across many parts of the world, including Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Chad, Sudan, and Western Sahara. Make sure that you understand that pronunciation that I said of all of those countries. Anyway, the Sahara Desert is hot, dry, and sandy, seca, arañosa, very hot. It looks like the kind of place that many people imaginar, when they hear the word desert, desierto. But oficialmente, the Sahara is not the biggest desert on the earth. Can you guess which is the biggest desert in the world? I'll give you a hint, una pista, a hint. It's Antarctica. Antarctica is the continent at the very bottom of the earth, around the South Pole. Polo Sur. It's in the far south of South America, Sudamerica, Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, Nueva Zelanda. Hear the way I'm pronouncing these words. For people who live in countries like Chile, we say that in English, Argentina, and Antarctica might not feel so far away as it seems for the rest of us who are related to it on a map, en una mapa. Antarctica is covered with snow and ice. It has penguins, pingüinos, and freezing temperaturas heladas. So how could this be a desert? Well, because, and I'm learning this too, a desert is not defined by heat. No está definido. It's not defined by heat. No está definido. It's defined by dryness, sequedad. A desert is a place that receives very little rain, muy poco precipitación, or snow. In English, we often use the word precipitation to describe water, agua, that falls from the sky, from el cielo, like rain, snow, or hail. Hail is, I had to think about the word hail. I don't know. I'll go back to that. Antarctica receives very, very little precipitation. Even though Antarctica has a lot of ice, mucho hielo, it's extremely dry. And that's why cientistas, call it a polar desert, un desierto polar. A polar desert is a desert that's in a very cold part of the world. Un lugar en el mundo muy, muy frío. So, are you a little confused? Because I was. And I was also wondering about a very famous person, una persona muy famosa, a famous person, and his family, su familia, and something else. Elves. Elves? Duendes. Have you heard about this famous person, his family, and elves that live in the Arctic? Not Antarctica, the Arctic, at the North Pole, Polo Norte, the top of the earth. You know who I'm referring to. Santa Claus. Santa Claus. We pronounce that in English, Santa Claus. So, in many Christmas stories, Santa Claus lives at the North Pole with his elves, duendes, and his reindeer, renos. I think I'll have to look that up. And it's a very nice tradition. It's a holiday tradition, but it's actually not a geography fact. But it's why we think of all of the Arctic areas like the North and the South Poles as cold and snowy places, lugares donde hay mucha nieve, cold, frío. And it's true, the Arctic is cold. It has snow and ice, hielo y nieve. And the Arctic is also considered to be a polar desert, desierto polar. But there's a difference because Antarctica, that part of the south, is one huge continent. It's a large landmass, masa terrestral, a large landmass around the South Pole. The Arctic, arriba, is a little different because it's not just one continent. It's more like a region, región, that includes a lot of elements like oceans, océanos, sea ice, hielo del mar, islands, islas, Greenland, Groenlandia, and northern parts of certain countries like Canada, Russia, Norway, Noruega, Sweden, Suecia, Finland, Finlandia, Iceland, Islandia, and the United States, los Estados Unidos, and especially Alaska. Pay attention to the way I pronounce those words, because even though we understand them, we all understand the words, it's good if you can pronounce them correctly in the language that you're speaking. And that's the way we pronounce those words in English. Anyway, I hope I got them all right. Anyway, so Antarctica and the Arctic are both, ambos, both polar deserts, desiertos polares. But as always, Antarctica is slightly bigger, and that's why Antarctica is the largest desert in the world. The Arctic is considered to be the second largest desert, el desierto segunda, and the Sahara is the largest hot desert, el desierto más caliente. But in the end, Antarctica is officially the largest desert in the world, and that's what this video is about. So if you're in the mood, are you in the mood? ¿Tienes el humor? Are you in the mood to review some words? Let's go over them quickly. Desert. a very dry place. Desierto, not to be confused with dessert, which is like yum yum, sweet, sweet cake, candy, cookies after dinner. That's dessert, and that has an extra S. So desert is a very dry place. Precipitation, precipitación, you know what that is. Rain, snow, other water that falls from the sky. We talked about polar. It's about North Pole, South Pole. Continent, continente. It's a very large area of land like Africa, not Africa, South America, or Antarctica. Region, an area of the world, a región. I have a feeling that the question won't come up that often, but just in case means si por acaso, just in case somebody actually asks you, what is the biggest desert in the world? You can say, the biggest desert in the world is Antarctica. And if they say, but Antarctica is cold and freezing with a lot of ice, you can explain, well, a desert is not about heat, it's about dryness. So even though the Sahara is the biggest hot and dry desert, and the Arctic is another polar desert from the north, at the end of the day, al fin del día, or al fin de cabo, at the end of the day, Antarctica is the biggest desert overall. I thank you so much for listening to the story. I need to say that for today's story, I did use information from educational and scientific sources about deserts, Antarctica, the Arctic, and the Sahara. And you can find these resource links in the video description below. Thank you again for tuning in to Buenas Noticias in Easy English. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.